Okay, so I'm going to quick go over the rationale and the snapshots. So for the rationale, talking about describing others, or well, actually, the rationale is, did I? Oh no, I did cut that. Okay, let me pause. Okay, so for the rationale, you're going to say look like and describe or explain. Now, we've already seen these in class. And so now we're going to be applying those ideas and taking a look at situations first where we might need to describe someone and what we would need to be clear about, and then how we do it. I suppose that's the easiest way of saying it. So look like or appearance like, describe, explain. They're the same sign, to describe or to explain something, or like if you're explaining a game or something like that. Right. So the first snapshot, and let me do. Okay, so for the first snapshot, they go through a bunch of examples. At first, there's actual dialogue, and then gradually it just gets to a description of situations. So the first one has the most. And you can see if you look at the English sentence, here's all the stuff that gets said. But if you watch the actual signing, it's a bunch of little snippets, right? Very short sentences strung together to mean that whole conversation. So you see last night, now notice the time isn't first. It's a question of, ooh, I got a question for you. Right, so each different part, and you can see if you look at the English, that's how the conversation goes, right? So again, I'm going to suggest to you, whenever you see a long sentence, try to break it up into short little snippets, bite-sized pieces. So then 2, 3, 4, they're all sort of describing situations, whispered conversation. Oh, who's that guy? Who's that person? They're kind of cute. Are they single? Right, that kind of thing. Available, right? What's key about that is that all of a sudden it's whispered. It's signed very small. So it's going to take some getting used to watch that. But once you realize, oh, everything's just kind of shrunk down and takes place in a smaller area. Also, it's shielded, so you can block a person seeing it who you don't want to see it. 3 is also whispered. Really, these conversations are pretty simple, and everything is described in the paragraph underneath. There's nothing that I saw that really needed to be explicated. To here, okay. The next snapshot, present and not present. You know that we already point to arbitrary space when we're talking about someone who's not here. So if I'm talking about my mom, I will point to a space and this becomes them, right? So that I can always point to them and make reference. Well, if a person is in the room, we point at them, right? Or if we're talking about a thing, my phone. If the thing we're talking about is not here, it oftentimes will sort of drop down below. Person, we're pointing at the place where they would be located, the place where they're standing. So just below them or just in front of them. And in each of those cases, whether they're here, whether they're not here, we're going to want a quick look at them to establish them. So oftentimes it happens at the same time as you point, and then you look back at the person you're talking to. And then once you've established them, they can always be there. Now, if it's, for example, someone in class who always sits here, I might point to where they normally would sit and be like, where's Bob, right? Are they gone for are they sick? What's going on? Right? So boom, boom. If someone just left, we could point to the door. They left. Why? Left. So if space has meaning, where they normally sit, where they just left from, we can point to that. Now, I should get rid of rationale in each of these. Anyway, no. As they're describing in the videos, there's this one explanation where they talk about, if you're describing to someone what someone looks like, once they get who it is, you don't have to keep describing. It's kind of a duh moment, right? But how do you know when the person's got it? If someone is describing something to you, take a look around and ask for clarification. Oh, you mean the guy with the blue shirt? No. The guy with red hair and it's kind of the guy with the baseball cap. No. This like it's going to be a back and forth, and then once you get it, oh, you mean the guy with the nose piercing? That we will use that to be like, boom, that one, boom, boom, that one, and that way we don't have to give any more description. We got it right. So that's the use of that, and they start. Oh, you know that guy, right? The conversation, the video is a pretty good explanation on that. I just want to sort of add a cultural component that many people will say that deaf people are blunt. Deaf blunt is a pretty common saying, and really, it's not. It's viewed as a negative because oftentimes hearing people are put a bit aback, taken aback that deaf people will talk about things openly and directly, and not sort of hem and haw and try to find a nice way of saying it. They're pretty blunt. There's a long history of deaf people not being given straight information about things. Hearing people, we tend to like not come directly to the point. We hope people are going to pick it up from all this other stuff. And deaf people, especially deaf people who went through schools for the deaf, would oftentimes not have a family they could communicate with. So getting information like that was really difficult. And no one would just tell them what's going on. When you're talking about like health wise, it's a really serious thing. If, all of a sudden you as a child start to menstruate, if no one has explained that to you, and sat you down and gotten you to lip read or shown you pictures or something like that, that could be terrifying. So there are many stories, especially in the older deaf community, of little kids being in residential schools and their deaf dorm counselors, for all intents and purposes, being their parents, explaining all these life things. They get sick, explaining that, working with doctors. So direct conversation is really vital. It's an integral part of the deaf community. So it, if anyone takes offense at something or something is seen as being offensive, we're encouraged to ask about it. Ask for clarification, because sometimes it's just a misunderstanding of what the sign was that was seen or what was meant. And it doesn't have to be confrontational, but just to be aware. If there's a question, just ask. And not to be off-put by a direct response. So the difference between potbelly, fat, versus pregnant is usually the seriousness. Uh, if it's size, not pregnancy, the cheeks tend to puff out, as in like soft, zoftig, if you like Yiddish, versus pregnant, which is much more a serious face or a happy face. All right. And again, it's not meant as an insult. It's literally just when we're talking about something that's puffy, a towel, versus when we sign muscular, it tends to be a hard face. Right. Ba-ba-bum. Tattoo. So there are two ways. One, fingerspell, tattoo, and then show it in a location. Is it small? Is it large? With the face. Or, right. Or you can sign. Right. Right. So however you want to describe it. When we're talking about decades, there are three different ways to do it. You can do just a twisting S, almost the apostrophe S, right? So 1980s, that works, or 1980 approximate, add approximate, and it's just sort of waving the hand like this, or 1980, and then that range of them. Okay. And then we get into the vocab, and I'll go through the vocab and other stuff like that. But those are the basic concepts behind. Definitely look at what's the sign. Let me just scroll through here. See, we see that taller, shorter, right? And there's a couple for each of these. See the puffy cheeks, right? Um, Blonde or yellow hair, red hair, and you can do either hair red, red hair, same thing with black, brown, whatever color hair. Hairstyles, right? With some, you can have like spiky, right? Or you could have, if you've got like highlights, the thin highlights, streaks, bum, bum. Tight curls, wavy, straight or straight, short hair. So it could be down to the shoulders, could be down to the chin, wherever you need it to be. Could be the shape. Right? Now, bald is usually signed with the middle finger. You'll also sometimes see this. If this is the head, this is bald. Right? You could have, like, if it's receding, you don't draw as big of a circle around the head. So again, take a look at the different variations in the what's the sign. So facial hair, again, if it's thick, it's so literally just draw what you see. And you'll see for like scruffy, sticky outy eyebrows, if they're really thin, eyelashes, boop, beauty mark, wherever it is. It's almost like drawn down with a pencil. Dimple. Guess that's what. There's also, you could have like scar, and usually a scar has more of a painful look. So you can see big smile, right? Um, braces or braces, because either way, either don't. I've seen it like this way too. Braces, braces, top and bottom. Um, I've seen like the gap in the teeth or like this. Again, what's the sign shows a couple different variations, but um, freckles and a very light. It's not like measles or something else, like a negative. It's very light. So we can do tattoos, we can do piercings, and piercings can go wherever, and just wherever the piercing, uh, right. Um, can't see my ear, but I've seen gauge more like boom. I haven't seen a really good sign for it yet. Nails, you can do boom or boom or. And then we'll do the vocab, and then I go into there's quite a bit of vocab, but most of it's very visual. Um, duh, but most of it's very clearly what you're talking about. And then I'll go through the assignment advice as well for 8.2. So that's it for the lecture.